Guys, I want to talk about my favorite subject, which is creativity. And I delivered a class to high school students in Connecticut, very eager to learn. They asked some really good questions. And I love talking about creativity. So please join me now in that broadcast as we continue on the creative path. Visualization is seeing it in your mind's eye before you press the shutter. Otherwise, it becomes what he said, snap, snap, snap. And that's the difference between a snapshot and a work of art. A snapshot, there's no real thought. It's just snap, snap, snap. And that's fine. A lot of times I take snapshots too. I'm just trying to record where I am. I just came back from Mexico and I was trying to remember some of the spots there and snap, snap, snap with my iPhone. But when you visualize the photograph or the film or whatever art form, it means you're actually putting your thought process to what this should look like. How do you want it to strike the viewer? He mentioned something, this really great photographer named Alfred Stieglitz, who is considered the father of modern photography, in that photography originally wasn't considered an art form. It was just a recording device, like a drawing or a lithography. And then Alfred Stieglitz said, hey, wow, this is a really cool art form. And he started showing and displaying photographers. You can look them up. It's pretty amazing. But Alfred Stieglitz said, I go out and I find something that excites me. And he also said he's trying to convey what he saw and felt to his viewer. This is really important because when you put emotion into your art, it's really going to become art. Otherwise, if there's no emotion in it, there's nothing that will grab people. This is very important. When you watch a film, there's always emotion in it if it's a good film. There's always something. They call it the arc, where you start from one place and you go to something else. And you can see that in any film, any really great film, you can see there's a transformation from the beginning to the end. If it just all stays the same, it's boring. You're going to click off of it. So we want to try to capture, whether it's a still photograph or a film or a drawing or painting or, a piece of writing, we want to have that emotion as part of it. Now, this is showing me using my hands as a way to visualize what I want to photograph. And this is obviously a made up thing. We did it in Photoshop, but it gives you the idea of you use your hands to help you capture whatever it is that you're hoping to photograph. This is a story about my first visualization, which occurred in the 8th grade. I'd already become a really avid photographer by then. And one thing I want to say, and I'll probably say this more than once, I want to encourage you, if you have a passion, don't wait. Don't think you have to go to college first or get a career or wait for something to happen. Start now and pursue it and be as professional as you possibly can. You will be amazed if you start putting yourself out there, what will come your way. And this photograph actually became my most published photograph, even though I captured it when I was still in the 8th grade. There's a story about it in this book. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I saw these kids were on a sand dune, running down the sand dune, and I took some photographs. This is a 35 millimeter strip here. It's called a proof sheet, where you basically take the film and you contact sheet, you just print it on a piece of paper. And I had photographed them from the side, and you can see there, it's not very interesting. Then I got the idea of getting down below them, and I became the director. And what I did was I said, look, I want you guys to run down towards me And when I say jump, jump as high as you can. Now, I had to time this just perfectly because they weren't in the air very long. And what I ended up getting was this perfect arc. And a second later, I had to press the shutter just at the right time because I visualized this. I then had to know my equipment. I had to press the shutter exactly at the right time, or else these guys would have been all, this guy would have been down, this one would have been down. It wouldn't have been the same photograph. But as it was, I pressed the shutter at the right moment. I got this perfect arc. Then I later decided to print it. You can see how it came out. Like, you can still see some detail here. But later I thought, when I was in the darkroom, I'm going to make this a perfect silhouette. And that was another visualization. And I think it really worked. So remember, visualization fits in at different stages in the process. It's not just at the beginning. When you're later editing, you can also visualize. And visualization applies to all forms of art. This is Brian Wilson before your time, but he was the kind of the leader of the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones were all musical groups, the top musical groups of their day. One way you can strengthen your visualization, do you guys have any museums nearby? Yep, okay. Go to museums. Look at original art, not just on your computer. In fact, get away from the computer. Look at original art whenever you can and see what that artist did. And it does not have to be in your art form at all. I look at films and I'm constantly looking at their shots from a still photographer's viewpoint. Like, how do they compose? That's really cool. How was it framed? What was the lighting and how did they use their subject? Music, you just get ideas from listening to music. So go to museums. If you can't go to one easily, look at books with art in them. And that's something I do constantly. I'm at least once a week, I sit down with a book and I look through it and I get ideas. So this is how you can feed or strengthen your visualization muscles. So write that down in your notebook because that's a really important skill. That's something I did as a young photographer. I looked at a couple of key photographers. I mentioned Ansel Adams. There's another really, really fantastic photographer that I recommend to you. His name is Henry Cartier-Bresson. Cartier-Bresson. He's French. You can look him up. Fantastic photographer of everyday life, street photography, and capturing people just doing things that they just normally did, but in a way that it became art. You'll find your own favorites, find them and study them and see what resonates for you. Hey, I hope you guys did enjoy that. And as always, I love having you with us, and leave your comments, okay? And I love it when you share. And as always, remember to get out and capture your own images of life.